Conservative commentator Matt Walsh blasted a woman who posted this TikTok. Let's watch it.
It's 10:45 a.m. on a Saturday. I am 29 and single, and I don't have kids yet. Here's what your Saturday morning looks like when you're single at 29 and you don't have a kid running around the house. I didn't rise from my bed until 10:15. Every time I thought, I should probably get up and do something. I thought, why? Nobody's making me. I'm not missing out on anything. I went to Beyonce last night, and I didn't get home until 1 a.m. And I danced and drank my little heart out, and I didn't pay a babysitter to watch my kids as I did that. And I woke up a tad hungover this morning, which is probably why I was in bed for so long. And I was just scrolling on my phone, and I saw a picture of shakshuka, and I thought, you know what sounds really good? Maybe I'm gonna learn how to make shakshuka today. Because I have no plans, and I don't have kids, and I don't have a husband, and I don't have errands to run. I can go to the grocery store and learn how to make shakshuka. So that's on my agenda today. Also on my agenda, probably a rewatch of some Real Housewives of New York. I'm also doing a rewatch of Normal People on Hulu, which is really spicy and I highly recommend. Weirdly, I'm into this documentary on Netflix about blue zone countries. So I've got a pretty
Walsh tweeted in response to the video, her life doesn't revolve around her family and kids, so instead it revolves around TV shows and pop stars. Worst of all, she's too stupid to realize how depressing this is. And then I thought we were going to play a reaction from her up next, but it's okay. Well, it didn't appear on screen.
Yeah, it was a gap.
Why don't we come out of...
The woman named Julia then put out a response to Walsh's statements about her. Let's take a look at that.
Society tells me I should be in life. Hi, my name is Julia and I'm 29 and single. Yesterday, someone named Matt Walsh decided to repost a TikTok video that I posted to his 2.4 million followers on X, formerly known as Twitter. And the way that his followers bullied me in the comments, reached out to me on social media, threatened me, was honestly abhorrent. Some of his followers said that I was gonna die alone, I should actually die and never leave my house, I should be sexually assaulted, I'm pathetic, I'm a whore, and that I was dead behind my eyes. Honestly, that one kind of made me laugh because I use Kosas concealer and I thought that it was working. No, but really, if you haven't watched the video, I suggest you watch it. It's all about how I, a 29-year-old single female, decided to spend my Saturday watching reality TV, learning how to cook shakshuka, and sleeping in until 10 a.m. And these people were really, really, really riled up about my choices on a Saturday. But here's the thing about social media. While it can be a really crazy place, which I experienced yesterday, it's a place where there's content for everyone. Here's who I'm creating content for. I'm creating content for people who are taking their time creating the lives that they want for themselves. Because it's the life that they want, not something that society has deemed correct. People who are feeling anxious in life because they haven't met their person yet or started a family, aren't rushing or settling to meet someone because some internet troll is telling them that they're gonna die alone. And you know what?
All right, this caused a real firestorm. I think for kind of obvious reasons. I mean, what do you make of the choice to try to make an example of a 29-year-old woman who does a TikTok about how much she likes to relax and chill out and sleep in on the weekends and cook for herself?
Well, okay, look. No one should harass other people on social media or send death threats or rape threats or anything else. Everybody who makes content that gets big or gets noticed deals with this at some point. I'm sure certain people who have certain characteristics get it more than others, but it happens. So if you're going to be, in the social media fray, it's something you have to expect. So that is what I have to say on that. Look, I don't care. She can do whatever she wants. It doesn't matter to me. And did I find the video she made offensive? No. I did think it was, she said it kind of in a pointed way a couple times, I guess, because I don't have kids, it seemed a little mocking or disdainful of that choice, and I think that's why this struck a nerve.
It's really interesting to hear that because the overwhelming thrust of every signal and message in American society is that you have to have kids, you're a big loser if you don't.
Is it?
It 100% is.
I mean, I don't have kids. You don't have kids. I don't feel that.
Yeah, and I do feel it as a woman who is looked at with pityingly all the time because I haven't procreated. And I think what is really frustrating to women is there's actually a cover story.
I don't think that's good. I don't think anyone should feel
there's
shame
a cover
for not
story,
having made that
I think,
choice.
I forget in what magazine, I think maybe New York Magazine that's out now, that has a big baby face on the cover, and it's called something like, I want you, but I can't afford to have you. So there's a couple of things that I think were frustrating people from like a defense of this woman perspective. One, that so many people are delaying having children and not having them at all because they feel that childcare cost of living are too high. We have exponentially high housing costs. The average cost for a year of childcare is approaching $20,000 a year, which is almost half of the average person's yearly salary. And so many women are forced to do this trade-off where they can't actually afford to work once they have a kid because they're not earning enough to justify having to pay for childcare at home. Polls demonstrate that women who are unmarried and childless are actually happier, and there are a number of reasons for that, including having more of a social life, not having to deal with the stressors of disproportionately having to take the burden of the child care at the same time that you work because everybody works now, and so being able to do some of the activities that she's describing there. Having leisure time isn't something that should only be reserved for people without kids, but increasingly, because of the nature of the labor market and the cost of living increases, it is. And we don't live in a society, we live in a society that says you should have children, but doesn't offer social support. Women are stuck with double-digit healthcare bills for giving birth coming out of the hospital. Scandinavian countries send you home with a bed for your child, a little box bed for your child, and all of the care that you need. They will send a postnatal nurse to your home to check up on you regularly. They really make it more, they try to make it easier for you to have a child and to be happy and healthy. And it seems like in this country, you just get castigated for responding to the economic realities of how difficult it is by making an informed and intelligent decision for yourself. And if you happen to be a 29-year-old, she doesn't even say she doesn't want kids. She just says, I don't have them yet, which is a perfectly normal thing for a 29-year-old. You get castigated by a multi-million dollar, someone with 1 million Twitter followers for somehow being hateful and cruel.
She's not objecting to childcare because of the things you're bringing up, although I agree that those are serious issues and we should make it easier to have children taken care of. I would like to decredentialize the preschool system. I brought this up before, but the city of D.C. has been trying for years to require you to have an education like master's in order to be able to babysit children. This is taking away jobs from immigrant women who could do it perfectly fine, from your grandmother type people who don't need to like enroll in school to do it. But what she's not like, I would feel the same way if there was a TikTok video where someone was saying, oh yeah, I'm taking my kids to the park and it's wonderful and you can't do this because you're childless and you can't do this because you're childless. I would think that would be a little bit mean. And I did think this came off a little bit mean in the opposite direction. No one should be shamed or stigmatized for not having kids yet, or if they never want to make that decision, it's fine. It doesn't matter to me. Other people's decisions are their own. But it wasn't, it was, look how much happier I am than you because I get to sleep in or something. And also the things she's talking about are, again, I don't care, do whatever you want. But the things she's talking about are, I wouldn't want people wrongly to get the impression that if you're in a relationship and just in a relationship without kids or in a relationship with kids, that you can't enjoy some of those things. Like, yes, your sleeping schedule does get thrown off, particularly at the very beginning with children, but like you can watch TV with your kids and your spouse. You can cook new, interesting things with kids and spouses. Like, that's part of the fun experience is showing, if you broaden your family to include a partner and children, is sharing things that interest you with them. Right?
I don't know. I don't even know how to respond. I think it's just so clear that what she's trying to do is carve out a little corner of an overwhelmingly hostile to single, unmarried people's space, child-free people's space, and say, actually, you're not a depressed loser. There are actually upsides to not having a kid. I didn't see it as vindictive at all. She's simply pointing out that, she's probably feeling kind of bad about herself because every single signal in society tells her that because she's about to turn 30, she's a big loser. And she's saying, well, actually, I've reflected on my life and I do have some good upsides, and I'm going to talk about my upsides here. If people were triggered by that, they're allowed to be triggered by that.
The signals are not so strong that they're actually stigmatizing this, though, because we're seeing a big increase, right, in people delaying having
so
children and delaying marriage and just being single, and people have fewer romantic partners and fewer long-term partnerships, and
people are feeling increasingly emboldened to say stuff like this that they would never have said out loud before. And so I say kudos to her for speaking her truth. You're allowed to tweet every single you cannot wait a minute. You cannot open Instagram without it being person after person after person saying, oh my God, and I'm happy for them. But my life is so wonderful. I have a kid. I just had another baby. I just bought a first house. But a person is inundated, especially at that age, with a lot of people around you hitting certain milestones that are increasingly difficult, particularly for millennials, for the first generation that weren't able to achieve the milestones that their parents, that were less well off economically as their parents. So many 29-year-olds are living at home. I saw a funny tweet the other day that was asking a millennial, hey, do you think your life is better than your parents? And they said, let me go upstairs and check. Because they're living in the basement is the joke, right? So, it seems really uncharitable. It's to me, it feels like if there was a video by someone who has suffered some hardship. Let's say I was in a horrible accident and I lost the use of my legs or something. And they did a video about all the things they can still accomplish and the ways that their life was still happy and good. And then someone coming online and saying, oh my God, how dare you glorify leglessness? It's come on, if this were in a context of forced childbirth, and there were all these horrible, miserable women out there that didn't want to give birth and they had to, and she was bragging about how she escaped the pogrom, then I would say it was mean-spirited. But from my perspective, and I think the reason that her little TikTok went viral is because from a lot of people's perspective, it is refreshing and rare to hear someone say anything positive about not having children. Especially at an age at which, approaching 30, she's going to be feeling a lot of social pressure to do that.
I don't know. I feel like maybe this is purely anecdotal. It's based on the people who are parents. I hear a lot, not so much on social media. I hear a lot about the hardships of it, how difficult it is. As someone who aspires probably to have children sometime in the not so distant future for me, because I'm 35. It sounds so scary and so difficult. I actually blame a lot of the kind of helicopter parenting mindset. When I was little, when my cousins and everything, we would just be left on our own. It didn't feel like it was so intense, or our parents felt like they had to so intensely parent us at all times. They had babysitters all the time. My parents went out all the time. If we went on vacation, they just took us and they just left us to fend for ourselves, and it's fine. And there are people in my family, my extended family, who parent like that. It's almost in reverse of how affluent they are. The parents I know here or just in cities seem almost overwhelmed, even if they do have a lot of financial resources, because they feel maybe they feel this rat race to make sure their kid is going to be admitted to Harvard from age 2 or something. And that is a little bit of social pressure that I think is really bad, and we ought to push back on. But maybe that doesn't really answer any of your questions.
I don't think it's helicopter parenting that's the big difference here. In America, federal law requires 12 weeks of unpaid maternity leave. So they'll give you technically weeks off. There's no guarantee to any kind of paid maternity leave. In other countries,
that's been a trajectory in a more direction, right? Is more maternity leave over time.
In America, there's no right to paid maternity leave. If you want people to feel good and confident and happy and having kids, you need to do what other countries do. Bulgaria offers 410 days of paid leave. Norway offers 49 weeks, up to 59 weeks of maternity leave at an 80% pay rate, or 49 weeks at full pay. 49 weeks. That's almost a year of paid leave to have a child. I watched another TikTok yesterday of a woman dropping her 2-week-old baby off at daycare because she had to get off to work. This baby is fresh. And she's devastated. It's a horrible thing to have to. So these are the conditions that we're living in the country. Be mad at that, Matt Walsh. You want more women to think that there's more advantages to having kids in a family
Matt Walsh
than
thinks
to not?
The woman should stay home with the kid forever. They should not work.
I think a lot of women, would like to have that option. But there's one of the big controversies on the internet in the last few weeks was, a woman who was modeling a kind of trad life, traditional lifestyle, who was saying, like, you guys are trying to be career women and I'm living this glorious life. And she had a beautiful kitchen and like looked very glamorous and attractive and had like all the like Williams-Sonoma cooking gear out in front of her. And people quickly clocked in the photo that she had one of those British big fancy stoves behind her that cost like $20,000. And they were like, let me Google who this woman is. And it turns out her husband is like a tech billionaire or something. And so there is this dishonest way in which certain kinds of conservative spokespeople or public figures like Matt Walsh, they say this is a good lifestyle people should do, but they really underestimate or misunderstand why it is that lifestyle isn't attractive. It's not just blue-haired women saying, I hate men. It's that there are a lot of economic factors that are going into people's choices here. And to castigate some 29-year-old woman for saying, hey, you know what, my life isn't miserable. I was able to learn how to cook something new. Me, I would have ordered a frittata or a shakshuka. But, you know, I stayed in and I watched some TV and actually it was okay. And I was able to socialize with my friends and get something out of life, even though I don't have a kid. Like, why on earth you would be so fragile that would trigger you into wanting to start a firestorm against some random anonymous woman? I mean,
I don't know if
is...
anyone ever feels triggered enough to send a hateful email or a death threat. That could be on any number of subjects.
No, I'm talking about Matt Walsh's choice to tweet it into fame.
Well, Matt Walsh has an ideology that I don't share. That he wants the more traditional lifestyle heavily. But
that's my point. If he wants a more traditional lifestyle, he should be furious that our government doesn't provide for a woman who goes through the taxing experience of carrying a child for 9 months, pushing it out, ripped from tip to tail, as they say, and then has to stumble back into work because there's no paid leave for her. There's no paid leave. You go through all of that, not even to mention the bonding with the child and taking care of the child. Like, that's the kind of thing, that people should be making choices whether or not to have kids and not feel like they have to make a constrained choice because they literally can't afford to do what they might otherwise want to do.
I mean, you know what I'm going to say? I'm not going to afford, like, if businesses want to offer that policy to attract employees of the kind of, or young mothers or people going to become mothers, then they should absolutely offer that. And it's a good thing if employers do. And I'm not going to obligate them to do that. And then you get to decide if that's the kind of place you want to work for.
Hear that, mothers? All you got to do is go and find a job that offers you, like Sweden, 48 days of paid family leave.
When they used to, more women enter the workforce because their labor is worth more because they've been able to get better educated and we have more gender parity. And I think that's a good thing. Maybe Matt Walsh doesn't think it's a good thing, but I do. But that's the reason they don't stay home. And it's good and economically efficient and better for everybody.
I don't quite understand.
But we could have
the point.
But we could have childcare if we could legalize it. So that'd be wonderful. Then we could fix that one.
There's no replacing the woman needs leave because she just gave birth. This isn't a childcare issue. First and foremost, the woman who has come out of a hospital from a medical procedure needs time to recover.
Yeah, well, a lot of businesses do offer maternity leave. They're expanding it to offering it to the man as well.
Robbie, there is no paid leave. Do you know the difference between paid leave and unpaid leave? So federally, they're required to give you time off as a woman.
Right.
But many women cannot afford to take that time off because they're living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, they're not, because you can't force someone to pay you money.
Right. Well, in Sweden and Germany and Greece and Bulgaria, the wealthy country of Bulgaria, they as a country have decided it's a federal priority, it's a national priority to provide for women so they can keep their birth rates up, so that people can enjoy as a kind of a human right the ability to have children and to have a family. And we don't have that in America. Maybe that's what freedom looks like, and that's what you want.
People are not obligated to pay for your
decisions. That's right. They're not obligated. So if that's what we want in America, and that's what freedom looks like, you can take that position. But I'm just throwing out there that we have an option to design a society the way that we want our society to look. There's many, many models of other countries that have made different choices. The people who live there by polls suggest that they are much happier and that we are making choices about how we want to live. If you want freedom to do whatever you want, that's great. and you can continue to check your 2-week child into a nursery so you can hobble with your diaper on back into the workplace. So you can earn a
the
check.
nursery care workers for my kids don't need to have Masters of Education degrees. That would be great if we could have that. But that does it for us today. Tomorrow on Rising, Michael LaRosa will be filling in for Jessica Burbank, and Amber Athey will be here at the desk to give you the news you need to start off your weekend. We had a great interview with Michael LaRosa today, so I'm really excited to see what he can do on the show tomorrow.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those of you who prefer to listen while you're on the move, we are now available anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Bye-bye.
Take care.